And at the end of the day, everyone goes to work in order to bring home that paycheck, take care of their own families and themselves, and allow them to keep going and live the lives they want to have. So if we can get that right for them and make it smooth and they never have to hear from us or see from us, then we've done a great job.
We're starting to see payroll move into more of a strategic mindset. They're getting more involved in those strategic tasks and less in the manual, and we've got technology and AI and things helping us along that journey. But why do you think it's so important that people do come to Congress even beforehand? Really, they've got a payroll that's running smoothly, on time, accurately and compliantly. I'm up to date with my compliance. What other reasons might there be that some might want to come along? Here's a pre-show scenario for you. Imagine you had to visit 6 houses just to cook your dinner. One place has the pots and pans, one has the stove, another has the food. You get the idea. Sounds ridiculous, right? Well, the reality is most global businesses operate the same way, using 6 different tools just to pay their global workforce. But now there's one platform offering truly simple, truly global payroll, and that's today's sponsor. That's Deel. That's Deel. With in-house customer success managers, local payroll experts, dedicated points of contact, and more, Deel eliminates third-party handovers and provides unmatched compliance and flexibility. In fact, they'll even help you track and flag the latest changes in payroll regulations before they even become an issue. So are you ready to transform your global payroll system? If you are, click the link in the show notes below to book a demo with Deel today. That's Deel. Hello and welcome back to the Payroll Podcast. I'm your host. My name is Nick Day. I'm CEO at JGA Recruitment Group. And if you're not aware, we are payroll specialist recruiters with offices in the UK and the USA as well, supporting a global payroll workforce with all of their talent requirements and needs. Now, if you are new to the show, welcome. Please do, if you get a moment, click subscribe or follow us. And if you can, leave us a review as well. I'll be hugely grateful. That really helps drive rankings. But most importantly, if you enjoy this episode, share it with another payroll colleague or friend, because it's together as a payroll global community that we can really raise the profile of this wonderful profession. And today we're going to be really doing that in abundance, because we're going to be talking about something that I'm really passionate about. I've been very fortunate to have attended several of these events. We're going to be talking about PayrollOrg's Payroll Congress. Now, for those not familiar with PayrollOrg, it is the largest payroll membership organization anywhere in the world, and Congress is something to behold. I can tell you, as someone in the UK, there is nothing of the size and scale of Congress like there is in the USA, and I can't wait to be over there again in May to experience the wonder of it all. But if you're wondering why it's such a big deal, and you're wondering, why should I attend? I'm here to hopefully help you understand a little bit more about the Congress. And most importantly, we've got a guest who's going to really bring it to life for you. There's something else we can do as well. If you've got those employers aren't quite sure why they should send you, I hope by the end of today's episode, you have a really strong business case you can take to your managers or your C-suite and say, hey, I need a ticket to go to Congress this year. This is going to be the episode for you. So who is joining us today? We are joined by Laurel Serra, CPP, Director of Education Services at PayrollOrg. She spent over 20 years in the payroll industry. She's incredibly passionate about payroll education, compliance, and helping professionals advance in their career. I was very lucky to have the opportunity to sit down with Laurel at last year's Congress and interview her on the short snappy interviews we did at Congress last year with Payroll Interviews. You may have heard her on the show previously. But let's just say she plays an absolutely critical role in organizing Payroll Congress. No small undertaking. It's an event that's transformed the careers of literally thousands of payroll professionals. So without further ado, Laurel, welcome to the Payroll Podcast. How are you feeling?
I'm great. Thank you so much, Nick. I'm excited.
I'm excited. We always have a good natter when we meet up at Congress. So I'm excited to have you on the show today. And I am going to start, though, with a question I ask all of my guests. I think you know it's coming, but what does the word payroll mean to you?
I knew you were going to bring this question, so I've been toying with the idea. I even let my 13-year-old give me a few ideas of what he thought it meant to him, because Lord knows he's been hearing me teach for many years. But I think at the end of the day, to me, it's the heartbeat of a company and why we do what we do. If the heart isn't pumping that blood to where it needs to go, then you're not gonna be able to sustain yourself. And at the end of the day, everyone goes to work in order to bring home that paycheck, take care of their own families and themselves, and allow them to keep going and live the lives they want to have. So if we can get that right for them and make it smooth and they never have to hear from us or see from us, then we've done a great job.
Fantastic. The heartbeat of organizations. Can't agree more. Absolutely right. I think everyone will be agree with you as well. So let's talk a little bit about your perspective on payroll, a little bit about your background as well. So how has your perspective on payroll evolved through your career, and what's made you so passionate about the industry?
What's interesting is when we spoke last, we talked about a lot of people have this conception of falling into payroll. And I too felt like I originally fell into payroll through working at a temp agency, placing me with a service provider, a PEO. But, you really helped me change my own mind shift of what I see from payroll, and it is that every time an opportunity presented itself, I chose to take it. And it really became this incredible career for me over the years, but it's shifted so much because I remember there was a point in my life that I said, I've moved on from payroll. I'm now in implementations with software. I do not wanna ever go back to doing payroll again, and it was right about the point where I was getting ready to start a family, a position opened up at the state college, for payroll, and my best friend at the time really pushed me to apply as I wanted to start a family, needed really steady, good health insurance, and just some stability in the world for myself, and so I went for it and I got it, and I spent 10 years there where we completely transformed their payroll process, but it really started to shift after my controller saw an ad for Congress and told me to go. And I remember going thinking, this is going to be the most boring and mundane conference I've ever been to in my life with a bunch of people talking about tax calculations. And it was the year that they did the Hunger Games in Las Vegas as the theme. And so
Wow.
when I walked into the open general session, there were hype dancers and I felt like cheerleaders everywhere and people in costumes. And it was just this big, huge party, and everyone was just hugging everyone and embracing them like long lost family. And I just really understood that I finally had found my people. And it really made me change where I wanted to go with my career. And it really helped me understand that it was, in fact, a career. And so from there, it just leveraged me into driving myself forward with getting my certification and restructuring the organization there at the college. And then lo and behold, I end up at PayrollOrg after all those years, so it's been incredibly wonderful to see.
What a wonderful story. I mean, one thing I will say, for someone who's been to Congress many times, is Danny Maddox does a wonderful job, but the whole team do a wonderful job of really making payroll a celebration. Where you think you're going to go and it might be these boring tax talks. And, sometimes we've got to do those things, right? We need to understand compliance. We need to get those things right. But also, there's ample opportunity to really celebrate the profession. And I think the team at Payroll do a really good job of bringing that to life and making everyone feel really proud of the profession as well. And you mentioned there that you were someone we had a conversation last year, and I'm quite passionate about trying to take people away from saying that I fell into payroll. At some point, there was a choice, and
Mhm.
the earlier we get to own that choice and say, you know what, I chose that career. Maybe I didn't think it was what I was going to do. I never thought I was going to work in recruitment. I did a degree and a master's in theatre and performance, and here I am in the world of recruitment doing podcasts. But you know what? I don't regret the decisions I've made. It's supported my family. I've met wonderful people in the payroll community. I love owning the choice of being in recruitment, but I do know how everyone feels. When I started, I say I kind of fell into recruitment. It was because of this and because of that. I had debts, some student uni debts and things like that. But actually, I made a choice. This is the choice initially to get out of my debt, and I found a career and a profession that I loved in an industry that is so passionate and so wonderful. And here we are, 20 years on, right? And you're in the same one. I love the fact you're owning that choice as well. But one thing I want to ask before we jump into Congress is we've talked a little bit about how payroll has evolved when we've met in the past. And I think that now we're starting to see payroll move into more of a strategic mindset. They're getting more involved in those strategic tasks and less in the manual. And we've got technology and AI and things helping us along that journey. Why do you think it's so important that people do come to Congress even beforehand when they've got a payroll that's running smoothly, on time, accurately, and compliantly? I'm up to date with my compliance. What, what other reasons might there be that some might want to come along?
Well, it's interesting because when I had that first opportunity to come, it was because they were teaching a very specific class. And at the time, our organization was looking at changing our pay cycle, and they were teaching a class about changing the pay cycle. So for me, that gave me my leverage to go. And then so when someone comes to me and they say, what is Congress all about? How can I convince my boss to let me go? Or how can I justify it? I always tell them, you may be a well oiled machine. But we all know the minute you buy a car and drive off the lot, it loses half its value. The minute you buy a computer, the next day there's a brand new one that's bigger, better, and faster. And so technology is constantly evolving. And in the climate that we're in the moment with regulatory changes, you know, things are constantly adapting. And if you stay in that day to day, same in, same out, it's never going to evolve. And you're going to find yourself trying to upgrade from, say, the old brick cell phone straight into the latest, greatest iPhone. And you're not going to be able to figure out how to go from one to the other. The change management's going to be horrific. So if you can start going to conferences like Congress and ingesting some of those changes and start listening to these different best practices, then you can slowly start to incorporate them into your own day to day life and keep your payroll progressing forward. Because to me, a payroll that is same in, same out every single day is not necessarily a great payroll because there's always something to find. There's always some value where you can, find where it can be a little more lean for the organization, or where can I have some cost savings for them, or some analytics around time off for our employees or benefit usage. There's so much more that we can be doing. And I think if you continue to push and strive to look for that and feed that curiosity that we all have, then you really can leverage your career and keep pushing with education like this.
Yeah, I love that response. I love the idea. If you're not evolving, if you're not learning, we're going backwards. Gave me an image. I was thinking of, years and years ago, with cave persons in caves writing on slates, and then suddenly giving them a computer, right? It's like, where do we start? Like,
Yeah.
you have to evolve through the different iterations of things. And I think that Congress is a great way to understand not just where we are now, but what's coming in the future as well. Now, I don't want to give everything away. So if I was to ask you what Congress is, maybe there's people listening that aren't aware. Maybe they think it's only for US domestic payroll professionals. And I'll say that it's not, because I go from a global perspective. But what is Congress? What can we expect? And why is it really accessible for everybody?
So the wonderful thing about Congress is that we have a little bit of everything for everyone. And if you've only ever worked in one industry or one organization within payroll, you think that payroll is this very unique aspect because this is the way my company does it. So this is what payroll is. And so those of us who perhaps have worked for multiple organizations, we can see over time that every organization is so different and so unique. However, they always say there's a twin for everyone in the world. And I find that at Congress, you can find that twin when it comes to your payroll as well. Whether someone's on the same software, using the same provider, the same industry, the same size, the same struggles, you're going to be able to find someone there who can help you. But, the nice thing about Congress is that we do consider it the premier event, of course, for payroll. We've got over 100 education workshops, and they are topics from everything from getting started in payroll to management and leadership to global payroll. We've got classes this year on specifics like payroll in New York City or payroll in Canada. I constantly drill home to those of us who are doing domestic payroll in the US that we are global to someone like yourself, Nick. So if you are running payroll for someone in the US, that's global payroll. So
Absolutely.
we're not necessarily the center of the universe, as sometimes we think, but there is a little bit for everyone. And there's a large number of global classes that I always try to sit in on myself, even though I personally have not done global payroll. There's still best practices and trends and mindsets that you can learn from to help you grow internally, even in a domestic setting. So, whether you're trying to figure out about the latest legislation for the Tax Cut and Jobs Act, or I want to learn a little bit about payroll in, say, France, you're going to find something that's going to be a benefit to you.
I think
You
that's the
know,
key as well, right? So, I mean, the US is almost like a global payroll on its own because every state is different. And maybe you've only processed payroll for one state, and suddenly you've got a new state that's going to be immersed to maybe an M&A or something similar. You may be going out to Congress now, and maybe have only got a domestic one state payroll, but actually, who knows what's around the corner? We're in an era of globalization where tomorrow your C suite may, without you even knowing it, suddenly purchase a company in France or purchase a company in a different state or in the UK or somewhere else. And you got to learn really quickly. So I think I agree. You never know where things could be tomorrow, and you can really pick up lots of really interesting insight and information. It's a bit like this podcast. I've done episodes which are just about Canadian payroll. Not everyone's going to listen to that episode. I know that. If you're not doing one, I understand. You can kind of pick and choose to the podcast episodes that resonate with you. For those that are with us today, hopefully there's some interest in the event or they want to find out a little bit more. So what are some of the key benefits of attending the event?
well, besides the 100 or so classes that we have going on, that's going to be phenomenal. But you also have to understand, one, if you're certified, you have tons of capability to get RCH credits, whether it's the 20 initial credits that you get with the live event or the 14 additional credits that you could possibly earn at Virtual Congress, which we hold in July. On top of that, it's networking with a slew of resources. One of my favorite things to do when people come to Congress is they'll say, I'm in the healthcare industry. I need to talk to somebody else who's facing XYZ challenge. And I'll go, I know exactly who to get you in contact with. This person over here also does healthcare payroll, and they've taught classes for us, or let's bridge the gap of bringing you guys together. The expo hall, which has vendors from everything like the Office of Child Support Services to SHRM often comes. We've got all of the different vendors and technologies and providers. So there's a little bit of everything. If you're searching for something that you need at your organization, you're going to see that in the expo hall. And then, of course, I say we have over 100 classes, but you also have the handouts for over 100 classes. And to be able to bring that kind of knowledge back to your organization and share it, that's a tremendous resource that I always highly encourage everyone. I was at a conference actually this past week at Capital Summit in DC, and I met a gentleman who is in Minnesota, and he said they have payroll in about 7 other countries as well. And I said, "Oh, have you come to Congress? We have a lot of global sessions." And he said, I don't really need to do that because I outsource it." And I said to him, "Your company outsources it, and that's good. I'm glad you have strong people in place, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't be aware and we shouldn't be learning." I said, "So why not sit in on those classes, learn a little more about the countries that you're actually in, and then that's going to help open up lines of communication with those who are doing the payroll for you in those countries, adds a little extra to your resume as well, because at the end of the day, you may find yourself somewhere else with another organization, and now you've gained that experience there." So there's just so much to explore at Congress. And you just really, I get blown away every single year. I see something new as far as a resource for us to take away from it.
It's some really, really lovely, great examples you've just given there. I mean, one other thing you mentioned that individual there. I mean, just having that knowledge allows him to probably manage those vendors a little bit with a little bit more knowledge as well. Sometimes knowing that there are other vendors in the market might give him a little bit more buying power, more leverage in some of those difficult SLAs, maybe. I think there's loads of different use cases. I think from my perspective, the first time I went a few years ago was the scale of the expo in itself. And sometimes you don't know what you don't know. You think you know it all. I've been in payroll for 20 years and you get them and go, oh, I never knew that this was even a thing in payroll. I've never considered payroll from that perspective. Oh, that's a really interesting solution provider. And how does that work? And I think it opens up your mind a lot. And some of the talks, as you say, they're not just about legislation and tax. They're about AI. They're about products, services, outsourcing, bringing things back in house, implementation, and you can go, management, leadership. So whatever you are in your payroll journey, if you want to be a better leader, there's a talk for you. If you want to get to grips with expat, whatever it is, I believe there's going to be something for you. But I think one of the things that probably makes many people nervous about attending is often, there may be a single person entity in an organization and they feel nervous going for the first time. Maybe they don't know anybody. It can be from the outside in look like quite an introverted profession. I think when you get to Congress, that all goes out the window because all the extroverts come out. But typically, it can be quite nerve wracking going to a really big Congress, thousands of people. I don't know anyone, don't really know where to start. How would you position it for those individuals that might be listening? Maybe there's an interest there, but that nervousness is just stopping them from going.
I've had the fortune of actually teaching the orientation for a couple years now. And it started when I was a member. I came my second year and helped teach the orientation and shared everything I learned in my first year. Because the first year I went, I knew no one, absolutely no one. And I was on Instagram and I was following the hashtag Paycon. And I found a mutual friend of a friend who was a sorority sister of someone I went to high school with. And I said,
Wow.
"Hey, I'm at this conference and I don't know anyone. Can you just do a quick intro for me so I have someone to tag along with?" And in fact, the very first night, I had gone up and talked to one of the teachers for my class, Lori Carter Brown, and I ended up getting invited to dinner. And I ended up sitting at dinner with people like Susan Garcia from PayrollOrg. And then that just opened up doors. But for someone who's new, who may be a little bit more of an introvert, Nick, I'm like you. I was a music major originally, so I have no problems talking to people nonstop. I always encourage them to try to step out of that comfort zone, attend orientation. Even if you're just watching how the chat is going to scroll, and they host it the Thursday before Congress, And we take live questions to acclimate you to what is going to be happening. Whether it's we serve Pepsi or Coke at the hotel, is there a coffee machine, those sorts of things. There's also people in the chat are saying, who uses ADP, who uses Workday, Daily Pay, etc. And can I connect with you? Oh, is there anyone here who does payroll for a government? And you start to find those people. And then, of course, we've got our social networking committee who has our, the meet and greet in the very beginning, the chapter exchange, whether you're trying to find a local chapter. But I think one of the best pieces that people take away, and you'll learn it right away in the very first year you go, probably by day 2, you're already there. And that is that you have found validation. Validation for what you do as a payroll professional, the blood, the sweat, the tears that we go through at times, knowing that there are like minded people going through the exact same things as you, and starting to understand that there are possibilities to set your sights higher to move it from a job to a career. And you start to think about, where can I go from here? What can I do? How can I move further into this? How can I move my organization further with this? So, to them, I would say bring that notebook. Be ready to write down phone numbers and scan badges. Be ready to add a whole new branch to your family because that's exactly what happens. I've been on vacations now many a times where I am stopping along the way, seeing all of my payroll family, as Kevin Valuette likes to say, and getting to reconnect with all of those people who just truly understand you to a core. Because for most of us, payroll is such a huge passion of ours. My husband's dismay, I constantly am asking people how they get paid and do they get overtime and are you being paid properly? And he's just sitting there embarrassed, like, please stop. But yet he'll send people with questions to me. And so we are naturally inclined to want to help problem solve and help people. And when you go to Congress for the first time and you may be that introvert, you're going to become that project where we're going to problem solve you. We're going to help you. We're going to find you what you need. And we're going to get you in touch with new friends and new family and new classes and new ideas. And your career is just going to completely change. It's going to be flipped upside down for sure.
I tell you what I love about that is you opened up with payroll as like the heartbeat of an organization, and that response was all heart. Like that was straight out from came from within about your love for payroll, your love for the community. Hopefully, people listening get a sense of that. Certainly, from being with you on the show right now, interviewing and having a conversation, I can feel that warmth for the profession. I think it's an interesting observation, right? Because there are a lot of people in payroll sadly leaving the industry due to burnout and sometimes due to a feeling of underappreciation, and they do a great job. They love what they do, but that eventually it kind of grinds them down a little bit where they go, I love payroll, but I'm really struggling with the lack of appreciation, the lack of investment, and I'm a bit burnt out. I've got no additional resource. And I would say it's also a really good time, as you mentioned, to find that community to just dust off the cobwebs. And I remember Nashville last year, what a great location. When we get to Nashville, there were loads of different chat groups and saying, hey, if you're a first time here, who wants to jump in a ride with me or get on the bus? We're going to go down to one of the honky tonk bars and who wants a drink. And it
Mhm.
wasn't just about being at Congress, actually. It was also about getting in the evenings, people coming together. People had never met each other. I met loads of people going, because I'm a big music fan as well. I was going into town and meeting people I'd never met before, just enjoying the music. Then you would get up in the morning, we're back at Congress. So I think it's a lot more than just the event itself, that sense of community. And I think, as you mentioned, that validation, it's a great word,
Mhm.
that feeling of appreciation for the great work that I do. Maybe you don't always get it with your current employer, but you'll get it at Congress.
You
You mentioned a little
absolutely
bit
will.
about some of the people you meet can help you grow professionally, and maybe it's a different pathway to what we sometimes anticipate, because now in payroll, it doesn't have to be admin to manager. There's implementation. You mentioned earlier, those different ways you can go. Any examples you can give of where people or attendees have gone to Congress and really experienced a professional growth as a result of them being there? Hello, global payroll leaders. Are you facing challenges in finding the right payroll talent for your team? If you are, I hear you, and I'm here to offer you a solution. Because at JGA Payroll Recruitment, we're experts at sourcing, attracting, and engaging with top tier global payroll talent that really drives business success. So don't let the frustration of finding great payroll professionals hold you back from raising the profile of payroll in your organization. The cost of a poor hire isn't just financial, it costs you time, or worse, it damages the reputation of your payroll operation. That's why we're 100% dedicated to ensuring your recruitment journey with us is nothing short of exceptional. Partner with us at JGA because we're an award-winning global payroll recruitment agency with a proven track record of success. We have over 100 five-star Google reviews, and we're trusted by many of the world's leading brands. And we would just love to help you elevate your team with the best payroll talent available anywhere in the world. Reach out to us today at 01727 800 or 377 or visit us at jjrecruitment.com. And while you're at it, why not sign up to our weekly payroll newsletter for exclusive industry insights and job opportunities? With us, your perfect payroll opportunity or your perfect payroll hire awaits.
It's interesting because when I first went to my first one, I was not certified. In fact, I often joke about 20 years ago working for the professional employer organization. I had many payroll professionals on our floor who were sitting for the CPP exam. And at the time, I was the garnishment specialist, and they asked me to come in and help teach them how to do garnishments. And I remember I was 20 years old, mind you. And I was sitting there thinking, why would you want to take this exam? Like, okay, why not just go get a degree? But it's different because now, fast forward 20 years later, I'm teaching the exam. But as I stepped into Congress, I didn't have my certification and I hadn't thought about getting it. And so it really started to get those cogs turning. And I was thinking about, wow, maybe I do need to get my certification so that I can say I am an expert in this field, that I understand how things work or where to go to get things done. And then from there, it just became this. I saw people with the validation of a meritorious service award or seeing someone receive payroll man and woman of the year, and they talk about volunteering and getting involved. And you can truly see people who volunteer start being a part of those groups, whether it's the best practice subcommittee or the government relations task force. And they join these calls and it opens up doors for them, whether they find themselves later on sitting on an IRS advisory committee or at PayrollOrg as an instructor, or maybe even they have their eyes set on that vice president of payroll like Davita, right? It really, really expands the possibilities. And so you'll now not only have this concept of, wow, I want to go there, I want to do that, I want to be like that person, but now I've got 1,000 people behind me willing to help drive and push that forward. So I was fortunate. I went on, I took my CPP exam and I got my CPP. I ended up getting a raise, a promotion. I went from being an assistant supervisor to the director of payroll of 9 employees there. And then now the director of education at PayrollOrg. But I see it all the time. I see people where I meet them at Congress and then I challenge them to get involved, join a committee, or to apply for their certification. You know, I got to read an application for our Prism Award from, just a small unknown person, Sarah Chastney, many years ago, who applied for this Prism Award while she was at Buffalo Wild Wings. And I ended up chatting with her after the fact. And I said, you have the most amazing energy and
She
you have a
does, by the
voice.
way. She does.
Right? I said, "Get involved. We need to get you volunteering. We need to get you to Congress." And look at where she is now. So you see these individuals who, slowly dip their toes in there. I remember meeting Bruce Phipps the first time, and he was like, "Wow, you're eager." He was like, "Okay, we can talk. Let's talk." And now, I saw Bruce last week, and he's asking me, how my son's doing, how my husband's doing. We've become like family. So you can see a lot of examples of people who go on to get their certification and become involved. And I get to watch them, where I get to say, wow, they
Mhm.
got their CPP. And last year, the 2 people who were awarded Payroll Man and Woman of the Year, I said, I actually knew those people finally. And I had seen their journey of what they had been doing through their volunteerism and being active, whether it's on a committee. And I've seen their careers change and grow. And it's been so cool to just sit on the side and cheer them on. So,
Absolutely.
if you're sitting in a place where you're going, what's next for me? Congress is where you should go because it is going to blow your mind the possibilities of where you can go with your career after that.
You know what? I mean, there's so many great examples you've just listed there, and even from my own perspective, right? So I don't process payroll, but it's certainly helped me grow as well. So I met some of those people, and Sarah, you're right, such great energy. She's been on the show as a guest. Carrie Brightinger,
Mhm.
John Shalston, who just gives his heart to the profession, and he's there to help anyone that wants to grow in wherever you are. If you're a first time and you don't know where to go, John's a great person to kind of help guide you and support you. I think it's given me opportunities to meet some really great leaders like Davida, who you mentioned, who's just been on the show as well here, and some of the wonderful work she's done at really highlighting people at an executive level, which I think has been fantastic. It's given me opportunities to write for the publication, which obviously others could do as well. Facilitating panels and also bringing other people into the community. I brought Nathan Mell from Deloitte over last year and said, "You've got to come along." And there he was. And I think they're coming again this year. So it's part of that community piece, isn't it? When you get there and you've experienced it, there's so much warmth, so many people that want to support you on your journey, whatever that is. If I'm a big believer from my coaching side of things, where it's never about the how, it's about the who. How makes us procrastinate? How am I going to get to Congress? Don't worry about that. Who do you know that can help you on your journey? Who do you know that can get you where you need to get to? I guarantee at Congress, there's someone there that can help with whatever your payroll problem might be. It doesn't have to be technical or compliance related. It can be, as you say, career orientated. How do I become a better leader? And even if there isn't a workshop for it, there'll be someone there that can guide you, can mentor you, can lead you in the right direction. So I think the answer you gave was fantastic. It really does highlight some of those wonderful benefits. What about from the networking side then? I mean, networking success stories you can share.
Oh, there's a tremendous amount of them,
What about me?
So we've got things like the networking lounge, which is
Sure.
open pretty much all throughout Congress, where you can just go and sit amongst others and you'll see people sitting at these rounds in that networking lounge, just start chatting. Oh, you use this software. Hey, let's get together. I have a question. I'm in the middle of implementing it. Or how about, oh, you guys have a garnishment in this state. I've never had to deal with a garnishment in this state or this country or wherever it may be. So you have that. If you're looking for local, we've got the chapter exchange where you can actually go and find representatives for your local chapters. So you can have someone in a more local area that can help you and connect with you, whether it's the networking lunch on the expo hall or just walking the vendor expo. I mean, you really, really can start to learn who, what, when, and where. And if you talk about network, when I went to Congress last year, there was someone who came. He actually has a payroll podcast as well with a co-host, and it's Walter Duncan III and
He's
Brian
great. I've met
Escobar,
him. Wonderful guy. Good fun as
right?
well. Yeah.
Walter and I worked together over 20 years ago at that professional employer organization. I was a new hire specialist, and he was a payroll processor, and I hadn't seen him in 20 years. And so when I found out he was coming, I quickly said, Walter, first of all, it was so good to see him. He was always such a calm presence on the payroll floor. But then I said, you know what, Walter, I know you guys are actively always talking to people. Let me introduce you to Christine Stolpe. Let me introduce you to this person over here. You should chat with this person. They have great ideas and thoughts. And, I think they kind of got a bit of the bug where now I have to go. I want to come to the next one. I want to keep talking to people and growing that network even further and bigger. And I a few months ago listened to their podcast at one point, and they were interviewing someone, and I go, "This person has such infectious energy. I have got to meet them." And so I set up a meeting with her, and I said, "How would you like to consider maybe proposing a Congress class with me? Because I too submit to teach." And we started meeting to talk about different ideas, and now she works for me. So
Mm.
she is now one of the directors of payroll training, Brittany Furr, and we couldn't be happier because she's so infectious. I love working with her. So you have all of these opportunities to connect people in different places, whether you were just laid off and you're looking for a new payroll position. Who better to ask than others in the community and the network to
Well,
say,
I'll be at a
hey,
networking table. You can come and see me. Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So it's always a tremendous opportunity to be able to walk away with that network or to utilize it when you really need it.
Yeah, really, really interesting. Really, really good response. So, look, one thing that I would mention at the start of the show, there might be people that really want to go, and we've sold it to them. They're like, I want to be there, but they don't know how to get the investment from their C suite or their directors, and say, look, they're not bought in. They don't see the value. So, what can we say? What can we do to try and help them get those approvals to attend Payroll Congress, rubber stamps, so they're able to come maybe for the first time? How can we make the case?
So one of the great things is that we provide what we call the boss's letter. That's a great starting point for you. And that is a letter that you can give to your boss, whether you're US based or global. We have both options. That kind of gives them a background about what could be gained from being at Payroll Congress. Whether you're looking at what your company initiatives are there changes that you're looking at, and then comparing that to the class offerings or the vendor expo to see who's going to be there. Those are opportunities to help drive what you're doing at your organization. And I know sometimes people think, wow, it's an investment. It's really an investment and not just an expense. At first, if you're going for the first time, you're thinking, big expense. Okay, how do I make this okay? I came from public sector. So, public sector getting an approval to travel to a conference is often unheard of because we only have so much in our budget. But if you can compare the class schedule to the things that you need done at your organization and then share that with your boss or share that with management and say, well, look at these classes that they're teaching. We're implementing this software. Wouldn't it be great for me to take the class that has their general counsel teaching, union leadership or whatever it may be, and say, I can actually bring that back as a resource? Or they're going to have all of these growth leadership classes or the leadership excellence series. We've got several people who are looking to, grow and expand in their career. If I go, I can bring that knowledge back and I can share it with the organization, or I can find a best practice for better timesheet processing or time off management or the analytics classes and AI. Those in and of themselves, we always talk about we work so hard, but it's all about working smarter and not harder. So if we can leverage tools and resources to do that, what better place to learn about them than at Congress? So there's a lot there at your fingertips where you can really show that there is some real solid value in what you're doing while at Congress to bring back to your organization.
I never knew about the boss's letter. That's a clever. No, I mean they thought of
Mhm.
everything, right? That's a clever thing to be doing. Brilliant.
We offer them for all of the classes that we offer, actually, to help give you a starting point, whether we're showing you 3 or 4 things that you're going to learn in a class or at Congress or what you're going to take away. So we definitely give you that structure to start with. We try to make it as easy on you as possible because we know that it can be daunting saying, hey, can someone send me to Florida to go to this conference? Or, whether we're in Vegas or Nashville or wherever we may be, I promise we're not going to Florida just so we can go see Epic World. We want to actually take classes. So having that structure there to give you somewhere to start is a tremendous help, especially if you're feeling overwhelmed.
Super. And just to reassure our listeners, if you are wondering where you get this letter from or any of the things we're talking about today, I will make sure links are available in the show notes so you can go straight through on your favorite podcast platform, Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. Have a look through to the show notes. There'll be links there directly to both Laurel's LinkedIn profile and also links to Congress as well. So you can book your tickets and hopefully join us this year at Congress in May. So before we finish, I'd love to ask if there's anything maybe I haven't asked, anything you want to bring to light that about Congress that maybe we haven't discussed today, but maybe we can just leave our listeners just wanting a little bit more so they're going to hopefully see them when we get out there this year.
For sure. First, definitely bring sneakers. If you come to Congress, you're
Good
going to be doing a
advice.
lot of walking and a
Yeah.
lot of movement. Don't make plans because there's going to be 100 million things going on, whether you're trying to come to our party, which is fate, or you're going to be going to a vendor party or rubbing elbows with whomever it may be in the expo or the networking lounge. But bring those sneakers and be prepared to have completely full action packed days. I remember when I went to Vegas for the first Congress that I attended, and I was like, man, I can't wait to go play some poker, some blackjack. I barely slept. I was nonstop go, go, go. And not because I felt forced to, like, but because I wanted to. So I would encourage anyone who's prepping to come first, come to orientation the Thursday before Congress, and then take a look at the classes that are being offered ahead of time so that you can choose which class you want to attend and which time slot. Right. And then maybe if you get there and you decide, maybe I should have took this other one. So circle 1 or 2 so that you have an idea of where you're going, when you're going. Download the expo map. Make sure you know exactly who, what, when, and where you would like to go. That's not to say that you can't wing it. You absolutely can.
Go.
But if you're trying to prove to your management as to why you should be there, definitely choose your classes ahead of time so that you have that schedule and you have that, almost project plan to attack Congress head on. So,
Amazing. Great advice. Well, listen, let's open the payroll vault. I'm really keen to get to this section as well. I've made it Congress specific just for you all. So,
okay.
first question Short, sharp answers. This one's around advice. What's one piece of advice you'd give to a first-time attendee to maximize their Congress experience?
Attend everything. Even if you think it doesn't apply to you, if it's a networking event, the chapter exchange, go. Be open to just absolutely going, even if you don't know anyone in the room, walk into the chapter exchange or the meet and greet or the vendor party. Just go because you're going to meet someone and you're going to have a great time.
Chances are we'll both be there anyway, right? Because we tend to go to everything as well. So hey, you're the
We
friendly
do.
face you can meet. A memorable moment. What's the standout moment from last year's Congress that really has really stuck with you?
Ooh. I I know this is totally off the wall, but I absolutely love the costume contest. It is my favorite thing. Granted, I'm on staff now, so I can no longer compete in the costume
Oh,
contest, but
okay.
it truly is a real thing. So seeing Dan Maddox in his costume every year is always like the creme de la creme. And he was the like a human disco ball in that costume,
It
which
was
was
very impressive. It was.
wild. It was absolutely wild, but I'd have to say also hearing the 2 industry expert talks were also really big highlights for me. Nadia Camarena from Netflix and then Ryan Yanetta as well. Hearing their story, if that doesn't ignite a flame inside you, I don't know what will.
Fantastic. And last but by no means least, a bit of fun. You're going to love this as a music major. If Congress was a movie or a song, rather than Payroll's what I usually ask, what movie or song would it be and why?
Ooh, We Will Rock You.
Nice. Nice. We've had that before as well for Payroll, but why for Congress? Tell me more.
I think you'll understand the minute you walk into the first general session and you see everyone on their feet hugging everybody, or if you see someone asking a question and 10 hands shoot up to answer the question for them, we will tackle everything and anything head on. So we are coming to tackle any and every challenge possible.
Amazing. Amazing. Well, thank you ever so much for joining me today to talk about Payroll Congress and to celebrate payroll, which we need to do an awful lot more. We need to shout it from the rooftops. For those that want to attend this year, and I've been saying it's May, I know the dates that I'm going to be there, but in case there's an event, maybe slightly earlier or slightly later that I'm not familiar with, tell us more about the starting and finishing times of the event itself.
All right. So we're going to have some actual events happening on Monday evening. And then you've got general sessions each and every single day. So it's going to be on officially Tuesday through Friday of May. And of course, that's the Tuesday right after Mother's Day. But on Monday evening, they'll have the chapter exchange and then they'll have meet and greets. Fate is going to be Wednesday night, which is the big party where everybody just comes together and has a great time. And of course, when the expo hall opens on Tuesday afternoon and that it's open throughout the day, so there's so many things happening all throughout the day, whether it's a class or a networking event or a meet and greet. If you want to go see and say hello to Jeanette Clark, our president of, National Payout. So you've got so many opportunities. Take a look, whether you're coming to see Executive Summit, possibly, right? Or you're there just to hear some conversations like Michael Francis talking about AI. Uh, put those on your calendar and be ready. But don't leave early if you can. Try to stay all the way through the end. I know Friday classes sometimes I see a few people escape a little quickly, but we've got sessions on Friday about hot topics in 2025, which is huge here in the US for sure with Tax Cutting Jobs Act expiring. So being able to attend a session like that is going to be a real win for anyone who's doing US based payroll.
Amazing. That's the week of the 12th to the 16th, isn't it, of May? So for people familiar. And I
That's
should add as well for my UK audience, because obviously this goes out globally. Mother's Day in the UK is 31st of March. So it's different Mother's Day that you're referring to. You're talking about Mother's Day in the US, of course. So just so people don't get their flights 2 weeks too early, it's definitely
please.
week of the 12th of May to the 16th of May.
Good. Well, now I'm going to add March 31st to my calendar too and make sure we celebrate it twice.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's right. I'm pretty sure that's right. I should know. Anyway, so just to finish, really, thank you so much. I think we've covered that Payroll Congress is ult- basically it's the ultimate learning and networking event for payroll professionals, and it doesn't matter if you're not stateside, wherever you are globally. If you're in this profession, if you can get a sponsor to get you to the event, if you can use those letters that you mentioned, which I never knew existed, which is a wonderful way of convincing your bosses to get you there. Please do go. Don't worry that you're on your own. It is the most supportive community. There'll be people there to help myself, Laurel, and many others, names you've mentioned today, all of which I think I know and have met myself since it's going along. So it's a really inclusive community, vibrant community that really gets a chance to celebrate the profession, celebrate the hard work we know everybody does. And it really is, as you said, a strategic investment in yourself if you want to go, and in your payroll team if you want to bring them with you as well. So thank you ever so much, Laura. And we're going to put them in the show notes, but just in case, if we can give an audible version, where can people go if they want to find out a little bit more and register for the event?
Of course, you can go to payroll.org is the start of that all, and then Payroll Congress is easily accessible through there, and it has everything at your fingertips. You're also welcome to message me. If you show up at Congress, please come find me in the booth and say hello. Whether you've only met me virtually or you've been a student, please, I love meeting everyone. And, you can shoot me a message through LinkedIn, as you'll have out there on the podcast. And I'm happy to answer and help any way they can. But payroll.org is the place to go to get your access
Fantastic.
straight through to Congress.
And I'll have a link as well of payrollcongress.com. And I believe the theme this year is Payroll Power Up. Power up the profession. So I cannot wait to see what that means when we're actually on the floor, because I know that Danny goes mad and all your team go mad over these subjects. So there should be a lot of excitement. But it really is about leveling up the payroll industry this year. So I'm really excited. I will certainly be there. Laura will be there. Hopefully, anyone that's listening to this, we will see you out there. If you've heard the show before you go, let us know when you get there. It'd be really interesting to know if you came as a result of listening to this episode. But Laura, thank you ever so much for joining me today on the Payroll Podcast. It's been my absolute pleasure. Remember, if you've enjoyed the show, please, once again, remember to subscribe, follow it if you can, and if you can, leave us a review. But more importantly, share it with your payroll colleagues and friends. Let's raise the profile. Let's celebrate this wonderful profession. Laura, thank you ever so much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
This episode is sponsored by Deel. That's Deel. Deel is your forever people platform built to simplify your entire global payroll process. Deel's fully managed global payroll makes it possible to pay your entire team in over 100 countries and in over 200 currencies, all in one place. So whether you're an enterprise business, a small company, or something in between, Deel is built to meet your unique business needs. So if you're ready to transform your global payroll system, click the link in the show notes to book a demo with Deel today. That's Deel.